You've had a few rough days before lately, but this one tops the list. A week into your 30s and you already feel the weight of, well, everything you've done so far. The job you thought would set you on the right path doesn't seem that exciting anymore. Your dreams start to fade as you settle into your sedentary life. You've been searching for something. Anything that might reignite some excitement in your life. But nothing seems to click anymore. That night, after yet another dull day, you drag yourself to your bedroom, hoping to at least relax on your bed. But as soon as you stepped inside, you froze in place. There, lying on your bed, was something you hadn't seen in real life before, only through a screen, a canister. But to be more precise, it was a scream canister from Monsters Incorporated TS, the unmistakable cylinder that stores energy from human screams, painted in yellow and black stripes with a large gauge on the side. Your mind scrambles to make sense of it. You raised your hand to your face, stroking your beard carefully, seemingly lost in thought. You just couldn't comprehend what that was doing on your bed. I mean, you didn't recall ever having a scream canister from Monsters Inc., that's for sure. You started stepping closer. The canister was sitting there, silent and out of place, as if someone had just tossed it onto your bed like a discarded object. But as you approached, your eyes locked onto the indicator on the side. Where it would normally be red to show how full it is, it instead showed a swirl of blue and purple, patches of fur-like texture embedded within the glass, which weirded you out a bit since you didn't remember those scream canisters looking like that.
This is from Monsters Inc., but what is it doing here? The hell?
You thought it wasn't that important, however. Your first thought was to leave it in your closet or something. But as you were about to put it back down, the canister started to vibrate. Like really hard. You flinched, feeling the shock of it rattle through your hands. Suddenly, without warning, a thick surge of blue and purple goo erupted from the canister, shooting straight toward your chest. You yelled, stumbling backward as the goo latched onto your shirt, pushing you onto the floor. It was almost as if the goo had some sort of force that was inclined towards you. Either way, the impact knocked the air out of you, and before you could process what was happening, the goo was spreading, clinging to your skin, heavy and suffocating. But here is the thing about this goo. Despite being gooey, it had this furry texture to it. It was moist, musky. And it was on your chest right now. You thrashed, trying to tear the sticky furry substance off, but it was quite useless. It was already moving, expanding across your chest, swallowing your skin as it moved.
What the hell is this? It's like it's alive. I can't get it off me.
You gripped at the edges of it, only to watch in horror as your legs were completely assimilated by the thick, furry mass of goo. It covered your legs entirely, and you gasped in shock as your legs expanded, growing way bulkier than what you thought was possible for someone like you. You couldn't see your human skin anymore, it was all replaced by overwhelmingly blue fur with purple patches. Your feet followed through the assimilation, morphing outwards as large, clawed toes from the goo mass. You shouted, your voice cracking with fear. You tried to kick the goo off your legs and feet, but they didn't feel like yours anymore. They had already accustomed to your body as a second skin. They were way heavier, way denser, and as your hands fumbled against them, you felt the softness of the fur, the padding of your new monster feet. Despite the shock of the transformation, it was soft and comfortable. The transformation moved upward relentlessly. As the fur goo got a better hold of your whole chest and pecs, it began to broaden at an insane pace, expanding with pure muscle and fat. You shook your head repeatedly as you saw your gut getting bigger and bigger, without being able to do anything to stop it. You felt like a sponge being submerged in water, swelling as more water got inside you. The result left you with a belly that, although not too overwhelmingly big or fat, was clearly barrel-shaped. Your puny human arms followed through very similarly, thickening as the goo coated them, gaining a lot of mass and power. And same with your body, it was covered by this blue fur with purple patches. You felt as your hands gradually morphed into massive, clawed paws with blue skin. Felt the immense strength surging through your arms, but it only really added to the panic. You pulled at the fur, desperate to rip it away, but it was part of you now. It had fully assimilated to your body. All while this was happening, a giant formed from the base of your spine thanks to the goo extending itself. Long and heavy, it swished against the floor, which grabbed your attention. You begged whatever was doing this to stop, but the goo didn't listen. Your face was drenched in sweat as the changes seemed to overwhelm you. Your entire body, your torso, your arms, your legs were all Sully. All that remained untouched was your face. For a moment, the goo seemed to slow, giving you a second to catch your breath. You noticed you were significantly taller now. You didn't used to be a tall guy, so seeing your bedroom from this new perspective was shocking. You stared down at your transformed body, your chest heaving.
How the hell is this happening? How am I turning into him?
You whispered, too terrified to move. You touched your face with your new clawed hands, realizing it was still yours, but you knew it wouldn't last long. Suddenly, the goo resumed its assault, clinging upward to your beard. You clawed at the goo, trying to get it off your jawline. You were really proud of your own beard after growing and caring for it for nearly 3 months, so the last thing you wanted was this weird fur goo getting rid of all the hard work. You tried to resist it, but it was moving way faster now, almost as if it wanted to get this over with quickly. More and more gooey fur tendrils were clinging to your jaw and cheeks. You couldn't keep them at bay. Eventually, a huge wave of this furry goo washed over your mouth and cheeks. Compared to before, your mouth seemed unnaturally wide, with teeth growing into sharp, pearly fangs. Your nose flattened and broadened as the goo also got a hold of it. You screamed, but the sound that escaped your throat was deep, guttural, more of a growl than a human voice. You shook your head repeated times, feeling the goo slide up over your eyes. You desperately tried to stop it from absorbing your eyes, stretching, bumping into your walls. For the first time, you got to feel this body's strength. But it was no use. The goo had a firm grip on you, and all you could do was delay the inevitable. Eventually, you plummeted to the ground because of the exhaustion, and the goo managed to swallow your eyes pretty easily. The world blurred, your vision adjusting to the characteristic size and round shape of Sully's large, expressive eyes. The transformation was complete. Next thing you knew, you woke up laying there on the floor, panting, staring at your massive, clawed hands, covered in blue fur. Your chest rose and fell heavily, the weight of your new body pressing against the floor. The tail swished behind you unconsciously, like a muscle you didn't even know you had.
My head, gosh, I'm so lost. This is all very confusing. What the hell just happened?
You asked aloud, your voice now Sully's deep baritone. You scrambled to your feet, but it was harder than you expected. Everything felt off balance. You were taller, much taller. The ceiling seemed so much closer, and your legs were thicker, stronger, and of course, way hairier.
Wait, my voice. This isn't my voice. No. I can't believe this is happening.
You staggered to the mirror, each step heavy, your wide feet sinking into the carpet. You stared at your reflection in disbelief. The hulking, furry monster staring back at you was unmistakably James P. Sullivan. The soft fur, the broad shoulders, even the horns. You had been transformed into a monster.
No, no, this is impossible. This isn't true. M. James P. Sullivan.
You clawed at the fur, trying to pull it off, but it was no use. It was part of you. The warmth of the fur surrounded you, the strange strength in your muscles reminding you of your new body. It felt powerful, foreign, but you didn't want to admit it in the slightest. Your breath quickened, still not understanding what just happened.
God damn it. How is any of this possible? Look at me, I'm literally sullied from head to feet.
That's when you looked at the scream canister, still on the ground. You picked it up. It was way lighter now.
This feels surreal. But how? This thing did this to me. But why? Who and why would they do something like this to me?
You threw the canister away. You looked at your hands, though massive, felt padded and soft. The weight of your tail was strange, but you were starting to adjust. You felt the fur bushing around your entire body, and despite the overwhelming change, it was oddly soothing. Your mind raced, but another feeling started to rise beneath the fear: curiosity. You looked back at the mirror, and you slowly flexed your arms, feeling the power behind them. You looked down at your massive legs, noticing how sturdy and strong they felt. And your chest. With that fur and that mass, you were a barrel-shaped powerhouse. The sheer size of your new body began to settle in, and you couldn't help but feel a weird sense of security in it. After all, you were James P. Sullivan. But you were still really insecure about this whole thing.
Look at me, and I thought I was hairy before. Jeez. Now I got hair literally all over me, and it smells musky. But I won't deny it doesn't feel nice, though. Not only that, but I feel so much more powerful now. Can you blame me with this absolute unit of beer belly Sully has? I feel like I can take on anybody.
You took a deep breath, running a clawed hand over your chest. The fur was soft, comforting. Perhaps the weight of your new form was something you could get used to. You chuckled, low and deep, Sully's laugh rumbling in your chest.
Well, don't get me wrong, I don't like being Sully. But if I can't do anything to go back to how it was before, then I suppose this is the new me.
You muttered slowly, as your breathing steadied. You realized there was something oddly comfortable about this whole thing. A smile tugging at the corners of your mouth. Standing tall, you walked toward the door, each step more confident than the last. Reaching for the doorknob with your large, clawed hand, you smirked.
Guess it's time to embrace the monster in me, don't you think? Let's see if I can scare some kids while I'm at it. Haha, just kidding. But maybe, who knows?
With that, you swung the door open and stepped into your new life as Sulley, feeling strangely at ease in your new skin. I am glad you were able to overcome the issues you had adjusting to Sully's body. I assure you, you're not gonna regret becoming the top scarer. Hopefully we can meet again, and you can tell me how you're holding up. Until next time, my big furry monster friend.